So, what if everything you've been told about making a living is just, well, wrong? We're going to dive into a single, really fascinating idea that completely challenges our normal way of thinking about wealth. And yeah, at first glance, it looks like it's pointing us in a pretty dark direction. It's called the Underworld Card.
Okay, so right away, the imagery is pretty provocative, right? You've got a handgun just sitting on top of stacks and stacks of cash. I mean, this is something you'd expect to see in a crime movie, not as a piece of advice. The whole thing is clearly designed to be jarring, to make you stop and just go, what in the world is this telling me to do? And that, right there, brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. When you look at this image and you hear the name the Underworld Card, you have to ask, is this a manual for a life of crime? Or is it something else completely? Maybe a map to a different, less obvious kind of wealth. Okay, let's decode this thing. All right, first things first, we've got to reframe how we're looking at this. This isn't about breaking the law. It's about breaking conventions. So let's start by decoding the very first clue on the card. And here it is, the first piece of the puzzle. It says, find unconventional ways to explore new sources of income. So you see, the key word here isn't illegal, it's unconventional. It's all about looking for money in places most people just aren't looking. So what does that really mean in today's world? Well, unconventional income is all about leveraging your unique skills, that hidden knowledge you have, or tapping into those non-traditional niches to create real value. But look, it's way more than just a side hustle. It's a whole psychological shift, getting away from just trading your time for money and instead monetizing what makes you you. And this comparison here just leads it all out perfectly. You've got the conventional path, right? Single salary, a clear career ladder, the whole corporate structure thing. It's safe, it's what we all know. But then there's this underworld path. And it's basically a complete rewiring of how you think about work. It's not about climbing someone else's ladder, it's about building your own portfolio of income streams. Your value isn't your job title, it's your unique skills, your niche expertise. It really is a total mindset shift from being an employee to being the entrepreneur of your own life. Okay, let's move on because this is where things get even more provocative. We're about to dig into what the card calls the profit in taboo, exploring the hidden markets. So the next clue on the card points us to these 4 areas: sex, death, hidden knowledge, and probing into the mysteries of life. I mean, these are topics that society usually considers taboo, or at least very private, right? They're the subjects we're told not to talk about at the dinner table, let alone build a career around. So the obvious question is, what in the world do these deeply personal, kind of uncomfortable subjects have to do with making money? It seems like a huge leap, doesn't it? But what the card is suggesting here is that wherever there's a taboo, there's also an unmet need. Okay, let's reframe that first one. When it says sex, don't immediately think of something illicit. Think expertise. We're talking about totally legitimate, high-value professions. Things like relationship coaching, or doing sociological research, or becoming a certified intimacy therapist. These are fields that require deep knowledge and genuinely help people with really fundamental human problems. And what about death? Again, this isn't about profiting from tragedy. Not at all. It's about providing essential services when people are at their most vulnerable. This could mean becoming an expert in legacy planning, or a compassionate grief counselor, or even a specialist in historical preservation. These are all vital professions that help us navigate a really difficult but universal part of life. And then we get to hidden knowledge. And honestly, this is the core of the whole idea. It's about monetizing the expertise you've gained through actual experience, not just stuff you read in a textbook. Think about that specialized skill you have that most other people don't. That is a potential gold mine for unconventional income. Okay, so all of this brings us to the card's final, and maybe its most urgent piece of advice. Seriously, this is like a modern mandate for anyone who wants to thrive financially today. And here's the final clue straight from the source. As the world evolves, so can your means of earning money. Now, listen, that's not just a nice little suggestion. It's a powerful statement about survival and adaptation in the crazy, fast-changing economy we live in. The message here is crystal clear. Standing still means you're actually falling behind. Just relying on one traditional way of earning money is a huge risk these days. So this card is really a call to action. It's saying that your ability to earn, your whole definition of a job, has to be as dynamic and adaptable as the world around you.
So, okay, we've decoded all these clues, but how do you actually apply any of this? Let's turn this insight into action. It's time to find your own underworld.
Here's a pretty simple framework inspired by the card to help you find it. First up, list your taboo interests. And I mean it. What fascinates you that other people might find kind of strange? Don't censor yourself here. Second, identify a market need. Look at that list and ask yourself, where could this unique knowledge of mine actually solve a problem for somebody? And third, evolve your skills. How can you turn that personal fascination into real expertise that people will actually pay for?
And that leaves us with one last, really powerful question to think about. See, this card was never a guide to crime. It's a prompt for some deep self-reflection. It's asking you to look at the parts of yourself you might have ignored or overlooked and really consider their value. So let me ask you, what hidden knowledge do you possess that the world is just waiting for?